Wow, welcome back to Pommyinoz. I hope we're all doing really well. If you're new around here, please drop a like, drop a sub. We've hit 1400, so don't want to be too happy, but that's a huge achievement. I can't thank you all enough, you guys and girls. You make life better. Honestly, you make it better. As the Jack Johnson used to say, it's better together, isn't it? And it is a wee bit better together. If you're returning, you're pretty good in my book, just so you know. Well, we're doing the review, aren't we? Carlton, 21-14, 140 to 5-15, 45. Well, Jesus. Feels like a long time ago since I've been deflated like that. Do excuse the get up as well, because ironically, as luck would have it, I got a phone call early this morning. It's 8 o'clock here, and I had to jump in a disciplinary on my day off, so that was good. Ironically, part of firing someone today, so ironic we're talking about that. But it led me to a really good discussion point for me of, let's talk about this. Like, there's a lot of people talking that we're all hurting, and there's no doubt about that, but there's a lot of, what I love about humanity is when something goes tits up, we instantly look to blame something, don't we? I mean, it's commonplace. To use a micro scale, you know, when the kids do something stupid here, me and my wife look at each other and be like, which one of us caused that? Do you know what I mean? Which one of us allowed that to happen? And I always think it's a grander scale. So I thought we'll do, in this review, as we break the game down, a bit of Poms. Want it, dead or alive? And I think you've got to look a bit deeper if we're looking for people to blame. So, first up in Poms, wanted, dead or alive, is Mark Legudishay. Now, you've got to remember, with Mark, now I'm not one for disposing of the board and buying into that rebellion, because I like to consider myself, when I look at change, and this is however I am in life, even with politics, I have to see an option that's better. I don't just want to change. You know when you get them horrible phone calls and you've got some guy fucking called Gandalf or something, he's telling you that you can say, we need to, have I reviewed my electrics provider? I want to know what you provide me. I don't want you to say that the guy that I've got's shit. I want you to say that it's better. And Mark Legudishay, accountability is something that I'm really strong of, and I'm strong at it in my workplace, and it's why I'm pretty good at my job, because I can be accountable for what I've done, but I also like to hold people to account and really create that inner working. Now, you've got the only guy with football experience on the board, Chris Judd, saying that you don't need a coach with training wheels and someone that we can't babysit. Legudishay did that press conference and was quite adamant that he was going to hit the ground running, and that hasn't been the case, has it? I mean, you could say 2019 to an extent he kind of hit the ground running, but if you actually break 2020 down, as many games as we won by small margins and people used the small ones that we lost by small margins, could have gone the other way. That's the wonderful thing about football. You've got other avenues, there's polars. And he was adamant, so he's got to have a bit of accountability here on his decision making. He brought Bo into the club, that didn't work. He was proud to bring Teague to the club, and that didn't work. And there's a great little handball game that happens with our club, and it's ironic because the fuckers don't want a handball when they're playing, but he's got to hold himself to account. And I look at Mark Legudishay and say, well, you've kind of like, yeah, okay, you've got us off the field, but football's only partly off the field. Off the field goes away when you win anyway. Do you know what I mean? People spend money. It's quite a simple process. The system's archaic, and he hasn't had any inclination of changing that system. I don't buy into the board set the culture. What the board do is they set the equilibrium in which culture fosters, and the equilibrium, the environment, if you will, that they've set is an archaic one from the 80s. You know what I mean? It's the same system, the same structures are in place, the same methods of running a football club are in place, but the rules have changed. You know what I mean? You can't go out and brown paper bag problems. You can't go out and buy the best coaches. You can't do that. You have to do it. So you have to create an environment in which it flourishes. And accountability is the only method to improve development. You have to be able to be self-aware and honest of where you are, where the club is. And Mark Lagoudichet is far from that. It hurts. Like, he is so far from it. It actually blags my head how the guy is in football, because business success never translates into sport. It's totally different. It's really rare. It's an archaic method to think because you're good at your business, you're good at that. Because you've got to have no ego and you've got to get people in place, because Mark Lagoudichet knows fuck all about sport. It's apparent, right? Have people in place. He hasn't got anyone around him. That's what it'll change it. And he's not willing to put his hand up. He's talking about legacies he leaves. The legacy he leaves is apathetic self-loathing and really doing what you want when you want. So, number one on my hit list is that guy. Number two is a guy that is literally everywhere that Mark Lagoudichet makes a shit call. And that's Kane Liddell. Okay, we've built it. But just look carefully at Kane Liddell in interviews. He's been in the sacking and the employment. And in them interviews, in them press conferences, which were probably the two worst press conferences I've ever seen, so self-loathing and self-satisfying. And he talks about, in both of these events, the off-field and how it affects, which is totally irrelevant when you're sacking someone. You know what I mean? I've never sacked or hired someone and then started talking about how it's going to improve me, because it's about that person. And how he escapes any form of microscope as the CEO is amazing. Like, it deserves a clap to me, because he's good at deflecting it. And I've seen a lot of these people like Kane Liddell. They come from other industries or successful areas, and suddenly people give them too much credence that they were a part of that. Richmond did pretty alright when he fucked off, and they probably will do. And I think with Kane, he's got to have a bit of accountability. When is he going to come out and say he was part of the decision-making process that got rid of Bolton, that brought in Teague, and it hasn't worked? You have to. And I'll tell you why accountability is important. When you are accountable as a human being, if you are in a position of power, it breeds accountability elsewhere down the track. The biggest thing I have of working with people on ground level in development and then speaking to the powers that be is the disconnect that they feel on the ground floor, that they like, well, these guys don't do it, so why do we? And I think it's so empowering when you put your hand up and you say, I fucked up. I love doing it. It's my favourite thing in the world, putting my hand up and saying I fucked up. Two reasons. One, I'm not a self-loathing arsehole. I don't have a high opinion of myself. I have a high opinion of what I do, but I think as a person, I can do better in every walks of life. As a father, as a friend, as a brother, as a husband, as just anything, as a producer of content, I'm always striving to be better than I was last week. And sometimes I don't follow the mark, and when I don't follow the mark, I question who I am as a person. And it's good sometimes, because 9 times out of 10 it's my fucking fault. And Kane Liddell, he's been involved in a lot of this, and his entire mantra is what he's done off the field. You've got to remember, this guy is the one who said that we're a final side, no more excuses. Oh, okay. Come on then. Own it, bro. Let's hear it. You got it wrong. Try there, because I bet he doesn't. I bet he orchestrates it's all Teague's fault. And Teague is a large part of the blame. He's in charge of the football list and how they play on game day. But you put him there. You put him there, bro. And we know why you put him there, because it was good publicity. It was great publicity. Another guy we're going to look at, third on the wanted dead or alive list, Brad Lloyd. Football department is fucked. Now, there's rumours that David Teague was offered new assistants and new coaching, didn't change it. Brad Lloyd is above David Teague in this, and maybe Brad Lloyd, if he knew anything about football, might be able to say to him, well, David, mate, I know you want to be loyal and shit, but these guys are fucking clueless. Where is he? Not even doing press anymore. Like, honestly, the guy's gone full Jimmy Hoffa recently. Like, you've probably got more chance of having a conversation with Jimmy Hoffa and said, what the fuck happened, brah, than you have of this guy. Mind-blowing accountability that these three we've mentioned so far are happy for Teague to take the fall and also happy for the players to freaking bear the brunt of it when they're creating the processes. Remember, and don't get it mixed up, culture is a product of the process and environment that you have. It's infectious. It can't be controlled. It can only be cultivated. And the quickest way to cultivate any culture, and I've seen it with my own eyes, it's very quick. On a micro scale, to use a personal example so you can understand it, being a drug addict for a long time, my culture changed when I changed the environment and the process. My life was full of dingy cells and dingy freaking drug dens, surrounded by real dingy people. Negativity followed me. It was grouse, do you know what I mean? Because that was the life. Changed the process, happily married, 3 beautiful kids, a nice house. And you know, life, it's not perfect, but life is fucking pretty good from the days of, you know, asking why a unicorn is walking in the fucking living room. And Brad Lloyd's got to be a big part of that process. He's got the processes that the football department do. He is anonymous at the moment. The guy is absolutely anonymous. And I asked myself the question, someone at this football club, and I look at Brad Lloyd, has got to take accountability for performance. Doesn't matter who does it. Could be the fucking teas made. Someone do it. What? When did we become as people so scared about people's feelings? Because there's only one person who controls your feelings in the world, and that's you. So if you come out and say you fucked up, do you think it's going to happen? You know what I mean? You know, yesterday evening, I went to the shops and my wife asked for one thing, right? And I forgot one thing, right? And there was multiple things going on. Some dickhead cut me off because indicators are a laugh, evidently, in Werribee. 2, right, when I got there, fucking packed, right, Coles was. But someone in their infinite wisdom had done that stupid thing we're doing for COVID at the moment where we shut down every self-serve. And we had one person on at the desk, man. And I had 2 women chatting next to me who did work at Coles, talking about maybe changing the freaking mobile phone display. So I was a bit pissed off, right? And I forgot it. I came home and I was like, babe, I forgot it. I'm a dickhead. And I went back out. Carlton, Brad Lloyd, would have probably said nothing to my wife and just ignored her and moved on with his life. Kane Little would have said, yeah, but babe, by not having your caramel chocolate bar, done you a favour. You won't put any weight on so you'll fit into them pants that you like. And Mark Lagoudishire would have said it was fucking the people at Coles' fault that I forgot it. Barmy, accountability, where are you? You put these processes in place. The process Poms should have used was write the fucking thing down, but I was too blindsided by my own self-importance that I thought I'd remember caramel. And I picked up all the things I wanted, I might add. So there it is, accountability. Sometimes you've got to follow a process. Process of this football club, from the top to the bottom, is blame someone else. Shit travels downhill. Responsibility doesn't travel downhill. It reverses the trend. Responsibility goes up. I mean, this person fucks up. The person ahead of him is responsible somehow for that fuck up. Rah. Very simple. Right, 4th on the hit list. 4th on the hit list. David Teague. Now, you go through that statistically, it isn't as bad as a 95-point loss. Take out the inside 50s because they are a product of domination. Take out the disposal because they are a product of possession. But the key metrics of that game ain't that bad. The team gave up in the 4th quarter, I'm telling you. The pressure acts were at an all-time low, which is a sign of intensity. The 1%ers were at an all-time low. We were chasing shadows. I have never seen, if I'm the Port Adelaide forward coach, I'm asking for a pay rise because I managed to isolate Wheatering so well that Wheatering was on 2-on-1 all the entire time. Absolute barmy. Tactically, that was inept. David Teague looked biscuit arse fucking reading his papers. Like, David Teague, honestly, at the moment, I don't even think the guy's motivated to wash, let alone coach a football team. I don't know what's been said. He didn't give a shit. That press conference, even reading body language, is a man that is broken. He's broken by circumstance. It's not his fault he's not fit for the job. You've got to remember, it works 2 ways, responsibility. He probably shouldn't have put his hands up for the job. He was proud that he went to the board and created a suggestion to get rid of Bolton. I never liked it. I was quite open about, I don't like that. I think that's underhand. I think that's dodgy to me. I think that's really bad for cultivation leadership. I'd never work for someone who did that. But secondly, also someone actually at this football club, unanimously I might add, thought it was a good idea to replace Bolton and untried tested with a guy that's only resume says he was good as a forward coach in a team that, when you look at the Adelaide side at the time, you could have probably got freaking Charlie Chaplin to be the forward coach, because if a forward coach can make Sam Jacobs, the system can make Sam Jacobs and fucking Mitch McGovern look handy, it's a pretty good system. But he's going to hold some accountability. You can't go in and say we get Cripps back next week and shit like that. Fantastic. Fan-dabby-dozy. Fan-dabby-dozy. These are good words. As I say to my kids, that when you say I love you and I'm sorry, these are just words. They mean nothing. Absolutely nothing. I love you is the same as can I have a pancake. But the action makes them words valuable. The same as when you speak in the press conference. Absolute aberration, that press conference is. That press conference is up there with some of the worst things I've ever heard. And bearing in mind, I love me history. Just think of the shit I've heard historically. And that is a man that has no accountability. That's a man that's clueless at the moment, but he has no accountability. David Teague, honestly, is a man at the moment who reminds me of a guy. He's looking at the heavens and saying, why is this happening to me? He has control. He has control over the tactics. He has control of the formation. That was disgusting. That was disgusting. There is no way you could find a positive for yesterday unless your positive is they found the Adelaide Oval on time. That is about it. You are allowed to be angry. Human beings, and don't take criticism bad if it's derived with fact. There is no way any of them players could walk off that ground that day with any sense of pride. If they did, fuck me. That is dangerous that these people may be able to procreate with that mindset that that is somehow acceptable. Because, gee, I fear for what they may pass on. Because I don't believe they are. I believe they are hurting. Because there's no way you'd want to be like that and be that undermotivated and be that structurally inept. There's no way that's healthy for 22 blokes who I presume had a dream to play football when some of them evidently had a dream to play for Carlton. There's no way that effort and intensity is what they want. David Teague has got to take ownership of that. He is responsible for that. Every industry in the world, the guy responsible for that department gets sacked. Very rarely does anyone else get sacked. Some might get sacked with him, but usually the buck stops with the guy in that department, and then we work our way back. Because people hide. David Teague really, in my opinion, should resign. He looks a broken man. Fuck the money. He must have earned enough money. He must have done it. If he's staying on for financial benefit, club should do the right thing and pay him out anyway. Like, the fact he's even in that situation is barbaric. But David Teague should show some responsibility. He has been tactically in charge for 2 and a bit years. And 2020, no matter how you try and paint it, look at the numbers. The numbers aren't really much different to now. The method to score against us and beat us was crystal clear. Short and quarters have made a huge difference on this game. Huge difference on this game. Huge. 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 He's got to take some responsibility. And it's not going to hurt his feelings. If it does, couldn't give a fuck. Because that means you're not in the position to even take this job. You should have a backbone. It's not hard to develop one. My kids can take criticism. Full-grown man should be able to take criticism. My wife can take criticism. A full-grown woman should be able to take criticism when they don't do it right. And you know what? They embrace it, and that's why I love them to pieces. If you can't embrace criticism and self-awareness, fuck me, what is the point of life? And finally, Andrew Russell. Imagine just, if you will, what his salary does to everyone else, because it's reported it's more than the coach, which I find baffling. Someone is paid more than the fucking top of the tree. Now, there's 2 things I ask about Russell. One, you read his reports at times. They don't mirror up to what the playing lists say. Like, he's talking that they shouldn't play, and then they do. Now, for me, if he's on that much money, he should have final say of if they play or not. I would change the structure up, because if I'm investing that much money into him a year, he should be able to control his destiny. Now, I will say they have got fitter. They do run out games better. I think one thing that's changed when people say that is you forget how much these guys have to win because of the structure. Bolton's structure was really good for unfit players. This structure is really high maintenance. We talked about it in Port, how hard they work. Now, there's nowhere near these players are at the level of Port's fitness, which does ask me questions about him. But this injury list, I don't say that's a big part of the reason we're not good enough, because that also comes to the list management. The list should be good enough to hold. You see Hawthorn, they can do it. Richmond at times have done it throughout the years. They haven't done it this year, but genuinely they always have. It's a disgrace. And where's his accountability of coming out and explaining it? He just kind of does these little pretty statements, and then players don't even get listed on the injury report who, I quote, have had a long time niggle. Fucking me. The club's banter. It's breaking me. It's actually breaking me as a human being. Should put myself on this list. Because I was in a meeting at 6 a.m, right? And all I was thinking was about football. All I was. But they're 5 people we need to ask the question of. Because people talk about the fixes and they think change takes a while. Change happens overnight. Change can happen overnight. But I feel for these players at the moment. Because the messaging they've got from the board down is always find an excuse. It's not own your excuse. You know that Carlton have that horrible thing, own the future. Biggest load of nonsense I've ever heard. The hashtag should be handball it to the next twat. That should be it. Responsibility is mine. Like, and you see it when Harford tweets about the women's side. You see it about Teague's press conferences. Like, I'm not saying this is an isolated thing, but imagine, I remember explaining this to a sales force last year. Imagine when I have to do this horrible thing where I talk about what the directors and the management do. I was like, imagine we've got one of them beautiful snow globes, right? The board of directors create the glass that the snow globe is in, right? You're the white little specks that dance around. The management is the water. The leaders are the water. If you don't use the right levels and the right consistency, it's not viscous enough, those things won't float. They'll always float to the top. So we've got to create the right kind of viscousness for the board's glass globe for you to float around and make something that is so mundane of a little cottage with a freaking Christmas tree look something important, right? And the people are what shake it. When they shake it, we get a wonderful thing. And there's the harmony of a football club. And right now, right, the board, right, they have created a fucking thing that looks like kind of a star that's been punched by a toddler. It's kind of fucking everywhere. And we've used fucking milk as the internal, so you can't see the pretty things that are going on. And we're getting to the stage where we don't even want to shake the fucker. But we're shaking it so hard we can't see what's going on. And them poor little floaties, the players, they're at the surface, we can see it. And we're shouting at this bit of glitter to say, why aren't you fucking doing your job? And can't blame them, because eventually them little floaties will just become flushed down the toilet and we'll go out and buy a better globe. But unfortunately, until we get a better globe, a better ecosystem, it's never going to change. Like, I'm hurting. I can't even analyse that game because I feel like I'd be doing a disservice to you guys and girls because you're not stupid. Like, you can see where it's wrong. You know what I mean? Like, fuck. Teague should see where it's wrong. But evidently it's alright because Cripps is back next week. Fuck me, man. Accountability. We need to start as a fan base not talking about rebellion, not talking about EDMs and things like that. For me, that is a distraction of the fan base. Channel it into creating a club of accountability where we're all accountable. From me to you to the board, it needs to be accountable because you can't breed success, you can't breed culture unless there's accountability. Accountability is the mother of success. She's the mother of success. And the minute you ignore your mum, usually goes tits up, in my opinion. Usually goes tits up, in my opinion. If you don't listen, you can't learn. And I don't blame the players because, you know what, at this stage now, 3 years into my contract, knowing that I get praised for abject and defended, I'd probably never give 100%. I'd probably be about 70. Because when you falsely praise something, according to many psychologists, you drop down by 2% your output when you praise when they haven't reached their fulfillment and you allow them to believe it. Case in point. A lot of work to do, but it starts quickly. Change can happen overnight. Just got to expect it and be fully committed to it. But honestly, them 5 people we've named, what the fudge is going on? Like, please don't blame Teague. Please don't blame the players. Please, want everyone, when they fire David Teague, to have some balls and say, this was my part. I got it wrong. And from this, I won't do X, Y, Z anymore. I will start doing A, B, C. Because it's a circle. It's a circle of mediocrity for 20 years caused by the ecosystem we're creating from ground up. How the ecosystem works, say pretty words, keep the minions, the fans happy, and then let the players be abject, because as long as the fans are happy and distracted, and as long as we're making money and we get to fucking wine and dine, it doesn't even matter, because we can just keep ploughing PR to the fans to show them up. We're coming, they know we're coming, bound by blue, freaking XYZ. Bollocks. Bollocks, bollocks, bollocks. Own it. You know, remember that? Own the future, own the now. Fucking own something. All of you who are paid at this football club, own something. You villainous, odious sacks of shit. Own something. Have some accountability. How dare you throw people to the slaughter when you're a decision maker? Should be at the forefront of explaining what's going on. Forefront. Should be embracing this review. Because, tell you what, I love reviews and I love hearing negative feedback from it. Because it makes me better. I want to know. Disgrace. Disgrace. I love you all and I'm sure you're all hurting, and I just wanted to give a shout out to a few people. Saif, if you're watching this, mate, I know you're having a few issues commenting. I have no idea why. I can't see any comments. But really thank you for your kind words. I got the email. Appreciate that. Blue Baguette Girl, I know she reached out and she was really hoping this game would give her something to lift in lockdown. And that's the problem. We're suffering in lockdown. And it's making it worse, isn't it? I've rambled enough and I'm sorry. I love you all though. I want you to know, whether you agree with me or not, I think the beautiful thing about this football club is I adore you all. You're all family to me. And that's what's great. And I just wish I could sit in a room with all of you. Just have a beer and have some fucking cocktails and some cheese and some sausages and just put the world to rights. Discuss this. Because, fuck me, we need a new club. Someone needs to get their ass down at Kmart and get a better fucking club. Because using a fucking paper bag from 1982 ain't working. Go Blues. Pom out.